So I asked you guys to rank the 2025 LEC mid laners from 10 to 1, from best to worst. And in this video today, we're going to be going over the ratings for what you guys think, the Sheep Esports community thinks the order of the LEC mid laners is going to be in 2025. Obviously, we just got done with the crazy offseason, a lot of player movement, mid laners changing teams, new mid laners coming in, old mid laners going out, the teams around them changing. Obviously, the team around you is going to impact things a lot here, but this should be pretty fun. We're going to be going over what you guys think the LEC mid lane power ranking is going to be for this upcoming season. Holy great tasting energy drinks that are also healthier than the competition. Use discount code SE5 to get €5 off your first purchase today. And then maybe at the end of the year or end of the split or whatever, we can even look back and see what you guys got right and wrong. But at number 10, we have Chek. This is going to be the new mid laner for Team Vitality. This guy, I believe, is coming up from Vitality B. It'll definitely be interesting to see how he's able to pan out. I think people don't know a ton about him and are not necessarily as excited about him. Obviously, you guys ranked him at number 10. He was actually really, really close to the number 9 ranked mid laner as well. I think if I was going to do this, I would have ranked him probably number 10 as well. It doesn't necessarily, it's not an indictment on him. Doesn't mean he's going to be terrible or bad or whatever, but it just means the guy that I'm maybe the least excited for, the guy that I have the least hype for and stuff right now. We'll have to see how he pans out. I think overall the Team Vitality roster is probably not doing him any benefits either. Yeah, they have Carzzy and Hills hanging the bot lane. That should be fun, but I'm definitely have some questions about the top side of Neko, Linkus, and Chek. We'll see how they pan out, but this is what you guys have at number 10. Getting into number 9, we have Camu. Again, number 9 and number 10 were actually very, very close, but I'm much more hyped up and excited for Camu than I am for Chek for many different reasons. Obviously, this guy is coming straight up from the 3rd division of Europe, so that will be very interesting. I just think that's a fun and interesting storyline. This guy is also a very, very big prospect that people are generally excited about. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people out there who say, hey, he probably should spend some time in the ERLs. Maybe he should come up to the LFL first and spend some time there. And getting thrown into the flames of the LEC could be really good for him or could be really bad. It could really hurt your confidence and development and all that, or you could just develop really, really fast and become an LEC player as fast as you maybe should have been. I don't know. This is obviously the new mid laner for Team Heretics. They have a pretty interesting roster. Him and Shio is going to be a fun mid-jung duo to watch, I do think, but definitely some question marks on that team as well. I think a lot of people expect that to be a bottom tier roster, like towards the bottom of the league. But I think Camu will definitely have some very, very fun and exciting moments throughout this season as well. So that should be fun to watch. Again, he just barely eked out Chek for that number 9 spot, but they're very close. But then kind of a bigger gap between Camu and our number 8 mid laner on this list, who is going to be Reeker. Now, obviously, this is a guy who fans know a little bit more about, and this is a guy who has spent some time, just a short amount of time in the LEC previously. Obviously, that last stint in the LEC didn't go as well as fans would have liked, or the team, or he would have liked, I'm sure. But he went back down to the ERLs. He was an absolute monster. He's on his way back up, and I think some people think he deserved more time in the LEC anyway, so I think hopefully this time and opportunity we will get to see a little bit more of him and actually see his true development and actually see him get to spend some time in the LEC and see if he can figure things out or not. Obviously, you only get so many chances to come up and down between the LEC and the ERL, so Reeker's definitely going to have to make the most of this opportunity. Reeker coming into the season, I think he's a guy who I could be excited for. Like I said, he was definitely really strong in the ERLs. Coming into SK Gaming this year, he's replacing Niski, which is obviously going to be big shoes to fill on this SK lineup. I think people have some question marks about them. Losing Niski and losing Irrelevant are two pretty big losses, but bringing in Loopy to pair with Rahel in the bot lane should be fun. SK could be an interesting team. Reeker could be an interesting mid laner. You guys don't have a ton of faith in him at number 8, however. With that being said, we'll get into number 7. Again, a pretty significant gap between number 8 and number 7 here as well, and this is going to be Larssen. Now, obviously, this might be a little bit surprising considering Larssen's history and kind of pedigree in the LEC. This is a guy who has been been one of the best players in the LEC at his best, and now to have him at number 7 in the mid lane this year, especially when there's so many question marks in the LEC mid lane, so many teams are going young, so many teams are going inexperienced, this should really be a split where if Larssen has a future in the LEC, if he is a guy who's going to be able to revitalize his career and get back to those heights, this should be a split that Larssen absolutely dominates. Again, there's so many young mid laners, so many inexperienced mid laners. Now, the one or two big things is obviously Larssen's recent form has not been amazing, but also we have no idea what the heck Rogue is doing this offseason. Right now, they have literally one player on their roster, and I don't think Larssen's going to 1v9. I think he's probably going to need some help. So that's not helping either. Now, obviously, if Rogue does get this slot sold and they're able to do a full offseason, there's tons of talent, or, there's obviously less and less talent each day, but there's still, I think, enough talent out there to hopefully field a decent roster. But we're very, very far along in the offseason. A lot of the players are already signed. I think the Rogue roster, especially depending on if Rogue has to keep the team or if they're able to sell or whatever, is going to be really strange, and I don't think that's going to be helping out Larssen at all. But I still think that, like I said, if Larssen is going to revitalize his career, this will be a split to do it. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Larssen at 7, that's tough. That's tough. But I get it. He hasn't been in great form, and his team is a giant question mark right now. Number 6, we have Vladi. Now, this surprised me a little bit just because usually the K-Corp fans come out in full force, and, I was thinking, hey, Vladi might be number 2 or 3 or something on this list, but he is coming in at number 6. Again, this is another guy that people are pretty excited for, another relatively young and inexperienced mid laner. Yeah, Vladi could be a really, really strong. Obviously, we have him in the bottom half of this ranking, but there's some really, really strong mid laners in the top half of this ranking as well. But what will be really interesting and fun to watch is that Vladi and Yike combo. Now, again, Vladi's kind of a question mark. Yike kind of a question mark as well. People are wondering how Yike is going to do away from G2, away from Caps being his mid laner. Going from Caps to Vladi is probably going to be a big change. So we'll have to wait and see there. But yeah, you guys have Vladi ranked at number 6. Again, I wasn't sure exactly how strong the Carmine Corp fan base was going to come in on this. Maybe if we do more of these power rankings in the future, they'll be now motivated to show out a little bit more and get their guys a little bit higher. But we do have Vladi at number 6. At number 5, we have Nuke. Now, I will never forgive this guy from changing his name from Nuclear Int. That I just thought was one of the most funny and iconic names of all time. He's going with Nuke now, obviously, these days, but he is also going to be that mid laner for Team BDS, who had an interesting offseason. Obviously, they swapped out Lebrov for Perus. That'll be interesting to see. They have 1-1-3 in the jungle, which I think is the biggest question mark, and obviously, that mid-jung duo is going to impact Nuke significantly. But getting irrelevant in the top lane is a big pickup. Nuke, I think, is a guy who's fun to watch, guy who we've seen in the LEC for a while now. Still a ton of talent and shows signs of, being able to be really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. You could move him a little bit up on this list. You can move him a little bit down on this list. I wouldn't really have too much of an issue with that. You guys have him at 5 and pretty significantly ahead of Vladi and actually pretty close to the next couple of guys. So you guys do think that this will be overall a pretty good year for Nuke. We'll have to wait and see if that comes true. Now we're getting into the top 4. Things are getting a little bit spicy here. At number 4, we have Jackies. I know this is a guy that people are very, very, very excited for. People are really hyped up for this guy and his future development. Now, the Giant X roster could have ended up a little bit stronger, could have ended up a little bit more spicy. It sounded like Giant X was interested in so many different players. They were trying to get a nice roster around Jackies, but either way, Jackies is definitely the centerpiece of this roster and this organization going forward in the future. They did pick up that bot lane of Noah and June, obviously, and Closer is going to be Jackie's jungler. And yes, Closer is a veteran who can hopefully help this young mid laner, develop, show him how to be a pro. Closer is a guy with an LCS title, but also Closer has not necessarily been in the best form as of late, so I'm sure some people have some question marks there. And Giant X, Closer was definitely not their first option for jungle this offseason either. But yeah, Jackie's is a young and developing mid laner who hey, he could take a big step this year. He could crack into that top 3. He could do some really, really cool stuff. But it's going to be hard because these top 3 guys are obviously all really, really good. But if we do see Jackies have the year that I think a lot of people think he's capable of having, this could be really, really fun. You guys have him at 4. You guys are hyped up and excited about Jackies in the mid lane for Giant X. We'll have to see how that goes. Now, getting into the big 3 in the LEC mid lane. In my opinion, there is kind of a big gap between the top 3 and like 4, 5, and 6. You guys had it, pretty close in this 4 through 2 region. But we do have at number 3, Humanoid. And I was so interested to see where you guys were going to go here because I thought this was obviously a big point of contention. Some people are going to have Humanoid 2. Some people are going to have Humanoid 3. Some people might even have him lower. I know there's a lot of people who like to call him, Fraud Manoid or whatever the heck people are calling him these days. I saw there's like the bald picture of Humanoid out there and stuff like that. Humanoid's definitely a guy who's gotten a lot of the Fnatic blame. There were some people calling for Humanoid to be replaced this offseason and stuff like that. He doesn't always show up in the biggest stages or the biggest events or whatever. People want him to be more consistent. People just want Fnatic to win a title or to do something at Worlds or whatever. And obviously Humanoid has been a long-standing member of this Fnatic roster, but he's been a long-standing member of this Fnatic roster because he is good. He's a good mid laner. Now, maybe people say he's a paycheck stealer, he's overpaid or overpriced or overrated or whatever, but he's still good. And until people consistently knock him off or dethrone him, he's going to continue to be one of the best mid laners in the LEC. Again, this is a guy who's even Fnatic last year. They made it to Worlds. They made it to a ton of finals. Like, yeah, they didn't get over the hump, but they were still a very, very good and overall strong team. And Humanoid was a big part of that. But you guys have him at number 3. You guys have this man, Jojopyun, ahead of him. Now, again, there is so many LEC fans are going to have different ideas about Jojopyun. They're going to have different ideas about an NA import coming into Europe. And how Jojopyun does is going to be a huge question mark. But obviously, you guys, the Sheep Esports community, have some faith in Jojopyun. Jojopyun coming over to be that new mid laner for Koi. And Koi has a pretty fun and interesting roster overall, and they could get some big things done. Obviously, they're bringing back a lot of the same pieces with Merwin, Elyoya, Supa, and Alvaro. But people did think Frescow was a little bit of a weak link last year, and getting a big upgrade in Jojopyun, even though he's an NA import, even though he's coming off not the best year of his career, obviously at his best, he is very, very good. He is really that NA Chovy. He can have do some cool things. And if he is remotivated and reinvigorated this year and comes in being his best, especially when he's going to have, the European mid lane pool and the caps to compete with and the G2 and all these different things and trying to prove himself after a not so great 2024, Jojopyun could definitely be good, but if he has some of the same struggles and issues as last year, or if he doesn't make the adjustment to Europe well, or he doesn't like in Europe or whatever, he could fall flat as well. So I don't know. Having him at 2 is a pretty big call from you guys. I like it. It's spicy. It's interesting. But yeah, you guys did actually rank Jojopyun at number 2. But him and Humanoid was very, very, very close. The 2 and 3, it literally came down to like a couple different votes of how this could have gone. This was very close, and I do think that is rightfully so. I know both Humanoid and Jojopyun have some question marks coming in 2025. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. And then, of course, you guys have Mr. Caps at number 1. No shocks, no surprise here. He is still the god of mid lane in the LEC. He's really the GOAT of all players in the LEC. He's going to be number 1, should be number 1 in any ranking, no matter how way we slice it. You guys do have him at number 1. I'm going to be so excited to see how Caps does, not only against Jojopyun and Humanoid, who I do think are the 2 and 3 best mid laners in the LEC, but also how Caps and all these other guys like Jackies and Vladi and Camilu, how these names do against Caps as well, and how they all help each other develop, because people need to push Caps so Caps can continue to get better and better and be able to compete internationally, but Caps needs to push these younger guys also so they can continue to develop and can be kind of the future of the LEC and give Caps and G2 more and more competition in the future. It's going to be really fun and interesting to watch. But that is pretty much everybody's video today, guys. This was our 2025 LEC mid lane rankings brought to you from you guys putting this thing together. So yeah, if this was fun, if this is something you guys want to see more of, we can definitely do more tier lists, more power rankings, have you guys vote, have you guys get involved, all that good stuff. Let's see how it goes. But pretty much everybody's video today, guys. Hope we catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.